In a minute, I'm going to be interviewing my father-in-law, Mr. Billie Randolph of Tupelo, Mississippi. He fought in World War II at the Battle of the Bulge, was wounded, and actually received a Purple Heart for his service. In fact, you can see the Purple Heart on the back of the tag on his pickup truck. This is Mr. Billie Randolph of Tupelo, Mississippi. And Mr. Randolph, how old are you?
I'm 83 years old.
And where were you born?
Union County, Mississippi.
And what town was that close to?
New Albany.
New Albany, Mississippi.
Yeah.
What year were you born?
In 1919.
Who was your father and mother?
S.J. Randolph and Maggie Randolph.
And that's Samuel or Stonewall Jackson Randolph?
Yeah.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have? Can you name them?
I had Josh Randolph, oldest brother, Curtis Randolph, the next brother. Then Lucille Adair, Randolph Adair, Pansy Shirley Randolph, and Hazel Randolph, and Janie Barnett Randolph.
And you were the youngest, is that right?
I was the youngest.
Okay, where did you go to grammar school and high school?
I went to grammar school at Milano and went to high school at Buena Vista, Mississippi.
Buena Vista. And how many grades did they have in high school when you graduated?
They had 4.
In high school?
Yeah.
4 grades. You went through what grade? 11 or 12?
I went through 12.
Went through 12, okay. So they had already changed to 12 grades when you were in high school?
Yes.
Okay.
Quite a bit before.
What does your father do for a living?
He was a farmer.
And what kind of crops did he raise?
He raised cotton, mostly corn, and hay crops.
Didn't have any tobacco?
No tobacco at all.
And what do you remember mostly about your father? What did you like to do with him?
Well, he was a good father. He taught me a lot of things in life.
What do you remember most about him?
Well, one thing that went in my mind, him and one of the hands on the place one morning, they had a little scrap. And never would forget that he gave my daddy a black eye.
Uh-huh.
So that was one of the outstanding things I remembered of it during his lifetime.
Did you go hunting or fishing with your daddy?
I went hunting with him and he'd go fishing with him.
So how did you learn to fish?
I did that after I was married.
Okay. So after you got out of high school, what did you do then?
I went to CC camps. Stayed there for about 8-9 months.
What is a CC camp?
That's the soil. A civil conservation corps, I think is what it stands for.
And what did you do there?
Then a park service, we built Holly Springs National Park, worked on it.
Okay.
Built buildings there.
What year was that roughly?
That was in 1939 and 40.
Was that part of Roosevelt's job recovery?
Yeah. Yeah, the CC camp was.
Okay. And I guess in 1941 the war started. Now, were you part of that?
I didn't go into 44.
To 44.
I didn't go into 44.
And you got drafted?
Yeah. I volunteered twice beforehand. They were turned down, so they didn't draft me to 44.
And you were already married. Who did you marry?
Christine Panel.
She's a pretty good wife.
Well, you shouldn't ask that question.
Well, you know she's a good wife. She put up with you for all these years, right?
Yeah, I guess she was.
And what year did y'all get married?
Year 1941.
And then did you have any children?
We had 3.
And your firstborn was?
Martha, Richard, and Mike.
Okay, that's Martha, Dick, and Mike Randolph. And I guess Martha was born after you got into service, right?
Yeah, I went in service on Monday. She was born Saturday after I went in service.
Where did you do your basic training?
I did part of it in Camp Shelby. I mean, no, in Fort McClellan, Alabama, most of it.
And did some of it at Camp Shelby? Where is Camp Shelby?
No, Camp Shelby, Mississippi, that's where introduction takes. I went from there to Fort McClellan, Alabama. From Fort McClellan, Alabama to Fort Meade, Maryland. Fort Meade, Maryland to Camp Shanks, New York.
And then you went overseas, didn't you?
I went overseas.
Where did you first go?
I landed in England. I went from there to France.
Where did you enter France?
It Omaha Beach.
And I guess you saw some action.
I sure did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, what you don't know about it?
Well, you were fighting in France, or you fighting in Germany, or?
France, Germany, Belgium. No.
What outfit were you involved with?
35th Infantry Division.
Who was over all that?
Well, I went across France with General Patton.
Okay, so Patton was your commanding officer of the whole thing then?
He was commanding over that 3rd Division. Went through France.
Was Patton a popular general?
Yeah, he was a hard general, but he was pretty good. He got the job done pretty good.
And where did you first see action?
And about 40 miles east of Le Havre, France, of Normandy.
And what did you run into there? A bunch of Germans?
Well, that's what we was over there for.
Right. And you part of the Belgian breakthrough, or the Battle of the Bulge, or what were you involved in?
I went from across France, and we was in South Germany when the Belgian breakthrough broke out. When it broke out, we went from there to Bastogne, Belgium.
Okay. Now you were wounded in the war, right?
Wounded 27th day of January in Belgium.
In 1944?
January of 1945.
January 1945. And I believe you received a Purple Heart, didn't you?
I sure did.
And that's the one that's on the back of your license tag on your truck, right?
Yeah.
That's a replica of it. And after you were wounded, where did you go?
I went back to England. I went back to England for 3 months in England.
And I believe your sister Janie was there.
Yeah, she was in England.
Did she help take care of you, or?
No, she didn't. She was stationed about 35 miles from me.
She just came to see you.
She come over and spent weekend with me.
Okay. After you got out of the hospital, did you go back in to France or?
Yeah, it took me about 30 days to get back to Germany from England through replacement centers and everything.
Did you see any more action after that?
Yeah, I seen action after that.
Where were you then?
We was outside of Berlin, about 30 miles from Berlin, waiting on the Russians to come through.
So they were letting the Russians take over Berlin.
They signed an agreement to let Russia in Berlin first. But we waited about 3 or 4 weeks on them until they got there.
And then after that, I guess the fighting was just about over.
Well, after Russians went into Berlin, it was about over there.
Yeah. And then what did you do towards the end of the war?
Well, you shouldn't ask that question.
Why shouldn't I ask you that question?
Well, we didn't. Well, we did MP duty around several places.
Mm-hmm.
And when we left Germany, we was pulling MP duty on the Rhine River.
Okay. And then finally you were discharged, right?
No, I didn't want discharged to about a year after the war was over.
Oh, so you stayed in about a year after everything was over.
Close to it.
And were you overseas all that time?
No, I got back to States in November of '45.
Oh, November 45. So I guess you were able to come back and see your daughter then.
Yeah, well, I got back about 2 days before Thanksgiving.
And after you were finished and were discharged, what kind of work did you do?
I started farming.
And you farmed in close to New Albany at Pleasant Ridge?
Yeah,
And what kind of crops did you grow?
I grew cotton and corn and hay and milk cows, raised hogs.
And I guess you'd learned carpentry work also.
Yeah, I quit farming and about 51 or 2.
And then you went all over the place doing carpentry work, I guess, right?
I worked about 2 years in Memphis, about 2 years around Albany, then moved to Tupelo in '55.
And then did a lot of work in
Been
Tupelo.
there ever since. Too poor to move.
And I guess it was in Tupelo that Mike was born.
I was born in Tupelo.
So what all did your children do?
When after married or before the marriage?
Before they were married? You got any favorite stories about any of them?
Not too much. It's wasn't too much excitement back then going on.
So how many grandchildren do you have?
Grandkids, we got 3, 4. We got 6 great grandkids. Grandkids.
So 6 grandkids. And what?
We got 6 grandkids and about 3 or 4 great grandkids.
You got 7 grandkids.
7 grandkids. Well, okay, 7 grandkids and 3 great grandkids, I guess.
Okay, okay. Any particular thing you enjoyed doing the most in your career?
Well, I had a hobby, hunting and fishing. Hobbies and taking care of my wife and family, biggest thing I had to do.
You also built clocks, didn't you?
I built a few of them.
I think you built one for all your Your children.
I built one for all the children. And I built quite a few and sold them.
Mm-hmm. How many clocks do you think you may have built?
I guess I built about 25.
25 or so, okay. So what's the biggest change you saw in the world since you were born?
Well, it was a lot of the radio come in and the TV come in and man to the moon, man in orbit, and we've had quite a bit television come in. We've had quite a few changes since I entered the world.
Now someday this may be seen by a great, maybe 100 years from now, 3 or 4 times great-grandchild. What would you like to say to him or her?
What I'd like to say to them, I tell them get all the education you can, make every dime you can to the scratching the poor man's back.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. This is January the 21st, the year 2002, and I'm talking to my mother-in-law, Mrs. Christine Panel Randolph in Tupelo, Mississippi. Mrs. Randolph, what year were you born?
In Union County.
In Union County?
Uh-huh.
What year?
1920.
1920. What's the date? What day?
June 22nd.
Okay, who was your mother and daddy?
Was what?
Who were your mother and daddy? Who were your mother and daddy?
Walter and Katrina Panel.
Walter and Katrina Panel.
Mm-hmm.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
Well, let's see. We had 2 brothers and 5 sisters. I had to figure it out.
And can you tell us who they all were?
Mm-hmm.
Can you? Okay, tell me who they were.
Do what?
Who were your brothers and sisters?
Well, I have a sister older than I am, Opal. And then there's me and my brother Roy. And then there was Hazel, Dale, Joyce, Betty Jo, and Jerry.
Okay, where did you go to elementary school?
Center, elementary and high school both was there in the same, that same building.
And what was the name of the town?
Well, it was out in the country it was close to New Albany, not too far from New Albany.
Okay. What did your daddy do?
He was a mechanic.
And your mother?
She didn't work. She had to work at home.
Well, I guess she worked a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
She worked as a homemaker.
Yes.
What did you do when you were a little girl?
Oh, I don't know. I guess we just aggravated my mother and played and had a good time, I guess.
Okay. How did you meet your husband?
At a friend's house at a party one night.
What kind of party was it?
Oh, well, I don't know if I remember. They used to have country dances.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's what it was.
And so you like to dance?
Well, I used to. I haven't in a long time.
Did Mr. Randolph dance?
Well, he could as well as anybody else could, I guess, at that time.
What year were you married?
Oh, man, let's see. We've been married 63 years. Now, he could tell you that, but I can't figure that out.
You've been married 63 years?
Yeah, we've been married. It'd be 63 next month. That's quite a while back.
So you're married in maybe 1939? Where were you married?
We were married at our pastor's home, Mr. W.T. Darling.
Okay. And did you go on a honeymoon?
No, we didn't.
So where did you first live?
Where was what?
Where did you live when you first got married?
Well, we lived with his mother and daddy for about a year, and then we moved out to a house that was not far from where his dad lived.
And that's at Pleasant Ridge?
Yeah, in Tipper County.
Okay. And tell us about your first child.
Well, we'd been married about, almost 3 years when Martha was born. And he had to go into service before she was born. And he was stationed at Camp Shelby, Mississippi. And he got to come home when Martha was born for a few days, and then he had to go back. And he didn't see her anymore until she was about almost 3 years old.
So he went to the war in Europe?
Yes.
Okay.
He was shipped overseas. She was about 3 months old.
Okay, who was your second child?
Dick was born there in Union County after he got out of service, of course.
And then Mike came along later on.
Yeah, he's born in Tupelo, Lee County.
Okay. Tell us about your children. What all did they do?
Well, the two boys, of course, they all went to school and finished high school. The two boys graduated from Mississippi State. Our daughter graduated from Mississippi Southern in Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Yeah,
And they all three married.
yeah.
Can you tell us who your favorite son-in-law is?
Well, I think his name is Bob Wright.
And where is everybody living right now?
Was what?
Where are all your children living right now?
We have our daughter and son-in-law live in Swainsboro, Georgia. Our oldest son is in Houston, Texas, and our youngest son is in Georgia.
Okay.
I forgot what he called the name. Gainesville, I believe it is.
Now, after the children got a little big, you started working, didn't you? You worked.
Yes.
Can you tell us what kind of work you did?
Who, me?
Yes.
Well, I didn't work until Billie had back surgery, a back injury. And I worked for J.C. Penney for 3 or 4 years. And then I worked for Gibson's, which was down on West Main.
How long did you work for Gibson's?
Mm-hmm.
How long did you work for Gibson's?
Oh, about 2 years. And then Howard Brothers took that over, and I worked for them until, I worked for about, 12, 13 years, and I retired before our first granddaughter was born.
Okay. So how old are you now?
How old am I now?
Yeah.
I'm 82 years old.
What's the biggest change that you've seen in the world in your life?
In worldwide or?
Worldwide, what's the biggest thing that changed?
Well, one thing was, of course, segregation. There was a big change made there. And then people are more, I don't know what you'd say, but anyway, I know the town in which we live, Tupelo, has grown tremendously in the last several years.
Yeah, it's grown a lot since I married Martha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's the biggest scientific achievement you think you've seen in your lifetime?
I don't know if I ever received one, an oddball.
No, what's the biggest scientific achievement you've seen?
Oh, scientific. Well, I guess this, I don't know where you'd call that scientific or not. This going to the moon and all that kind of thing that's been taking place and still is.
Okay. Well, is there anything you'd like to say to your great, 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 great grandchildren when they watch this in 100 years?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm sure there'll be quite a change by that time
Oh.
again.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Yeah.